Welcome to Shad's Guitar Show. Whether it's the gear or the players who made the gear famous, join me each episode as we discuss all things guitar. Well, hey, what's up there, everyone? Welcome into another exciting episode of Shad's Guitar Show. I am so glad you're joining me, as always, for conversations about gear, players, all the things, right? I try to keep it interesting. And I kind of move around a bit to different things. And, it's kind of interesting. I can see the analytics of each episode and kind of how many people tune in and just all the ins and outs of it. So I kind of have my finger on the pulse a little bit of what is interesting to you guys, or at least what seems to be from the numbers. And so I'm going to try to, focus a little in those types of areas, but I don't want to get stuck in like one kind of thing, of course. So we're going to continue to talk about all different things. But today, I want to dive into something that I've recently become obsessed with. And I know you've probably heard me say that a bunch of times because my interests go from thing to thing pretty quickly. But right now, I am super, super excited about Super Strats once again. And Super Strats are, have kind of come in and out of my playing life from time to time. But right now I am just loving my new Ibanez gem, the 7VWH, which is the white one. It's a 2004 Japanese made one, and it is just amazing. Plays effortlessly, looks so cool. And I will say it is the first gem Steve Vai signature I've had. I also acquired a JS 2410, which is the Satriani model in sky blue, which is really cool, and a Jackson Soloist in Lambo orange. Now, a couple of these guitars will be for sale as I can't keep them all. And right now I'm leaning heavily towards the Steve Vai gem. It is just a monster of a guitar, and I really, really love it. So, of course, since I'm obsessed with Super Strats, I figured we would kind of go back in history and talk about Super Strats, kind of when they came about, what they are, just all the ins and outs of these things. So join me now as we dive into a conversation about the rise of the Super Strat. All right, so I'm sure the majority of you know what I mean when I talk about Super Strats, but for anyone who may not be totally sure, let me kind of define it. So a Super Strat is basically a high-performance guitar based on the classic Strat body shape, but modified for faster playing and greater versatility. Super Strats typically feature a humbucker, at least one humbucker in the bridge, slimmer necks, jumbo frets, locking tremolo systems like the Floyd Rose, and other upgrades designed to meet the demands of rock and typically metal guitarists, or anybody who's looking to play really high performance kind of guitar. But to truly understand the Super Strat, we have to make our way back in history to a time when young guitar players were already starting to push the boundaries of established guitar technique in search of more gain, more power, more technical prowess. The major hurdle at the time was the gear, specifically the guitars. You had the trusty, tried and true Stratocaster, which had served so many early rock and blues rock pioneers very well. Guys like Clapton, Gilmour, Hendrix, the usual suspects. But these new players didn't want to simply carry the torch of what had come before them. They were inspired to blaze new trails and push the limits of guitar playing. And the Strat had too much fretboard radius, small frets, underpowered pickups, and the tremolo, which actually is a vibrato, as we discussed in an earlier episode of the show. It didn't offer the range of pitch manipulation these emerging technically minded players wanted. In short, it just didn't have the horsepower. Now conversely, the Les Paul did have power and sustain and punch, but it was heavy and the upper fret access was quite limited. So really, many players dreamed of a kind of a blend of these guitars, a hybrid guitar that brought the ease and comfort of playability of the Strat with the power of the Les Paul. Since nobody in the industry was making anything like this at the time, there was only the DIY option, And as shocking as it seems now due to the crazy value of vintage guitars, a lot of guys were just carving up those old Strats, as they were really just used guitars back then, and modifying them to get what they could out of them. The genesis of this revolution is most commonly credited to Eddie Van Halen, although there were players modding guitars well before Ed. But EVH turned guitar on its head in so many ways that his contribution to the Super Strat story basically overshadows any other. So let's start with some of the pioneering aftermarket parts companies that helped get the ball rolling. Boogie Bodies. Boogie Bodies played a pivotal role in the birth of the aftermarket guitar industry during the 1970s. Founded by Lynn Ellsworth, the company became known for producing high-quality replacement guitar bodies and necks when players were eager to customize and improve their instruments. Crafted from premium woods such as ash, alder, and maple, Boogie Bodies components quickly earned a reputation for exceptional craftsmanship. Their parts found favor with many Southern California guitar builders and helped fuel the hot rodding movement that eventually led to the rise of the Super Strat. Today, original Boogie Bodies guitar bodies remain highly sought after by collectors and players who appreciate their quality, historical significance, and connection to the golden age of custom electric guitar building. Floyd Rose. The Floyd Rose locking tremolo system revolutionized electric guitar performance when it was introduced in the late 1970s by inventor and guitarist Floyd D. Rose. Designed to solve the tuning instability that plagued traditional vibrato systems, the Floyd Rose uses locking clamps at both the nut and the bridge to prevent the string from slipping during aggressive tremolo use. This innovative design allows players to perform dramatic dive bombs, soaring pitch rises, flutter effects, and a wide vibrato while keeping the guitar remarkably well in tune. Popularized by guitarists such as Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and countless others during the 80s, the Floyd Rose became a defining feature of the Super Strat era and remains one of the most respected and widely used tremolo systems for rock and metal players to this day. DiMarzio pickups. DiMarzio pickups have been a cornerstone of high-performance electric guitar tone since the company was founded by Larry DiMarzio in 1972. Best known for introducing one of the world's first successful replacement humbuckers, the Super Distortion, DiMarzio helped launch the aftermarket pickup industry by giving players an easy way to increase output and customize their sound. Today, the company offers a wide range of pickups for virtually every musical style, from vintage-inspired single coils to modern high-output humbuckers. And its products are trusted by legendary guitarists, including names like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, and John Petrucci. At the center of this Super Strat revolution was a small repair shop in Azusa, California called Charvel's Guitar Repair. Beginning in the 1970s as a repairman and parts supplier in Southern California, Wayne Charvel earned a reputation for creating high-performance custom instruments tailored to the needs of professional players. His work helped lay the foundation for the Super Strat movement, with features such as hot-rodded pickups, faster necks, and modern hardware that became staples of 1980s rock and metal. Although he sold the company in the late 70s, Wayne Charvel's influence on custom guitar design continues to be felt to this day. So let's talk about the early brands that help usher in the professionally built Super Strat guitar era. First would be, of course, Charvel guitars. The first Charvel guitars weren't originally given model names in the modern sense. In the late 70s and early 80s, many were built as custom-order instruments based on Fender-style body shapes. But as production became more standardized, Charvel began referring to them by their body styles. The San Dimas Strat, or later San Dimas Style 1, Stratocaster-style body, the most iconic Charvel Super Strat. San Dimas Tele, or later San Dimas Style 2, Telecaster body built with the same high-performance philosophy. Various custom-order San Dimas guitars built to customer specifications before formal model names became common, often featuring different pickup layouts, neck profiles, and hardware. And it's worth noting that San Dimas wasn't originally the model name. It referred to the California town where Charvel built these guitars. Players simply called them San Dimas Charvels, and that name eventually became synonymous with the company's earliest production instruments. When Charvel moved production to Japan in 1986, the company introduced the famous numbered model series, including the Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, 4, 5, and Model 6, which were the first officially numbered Charvel production models. Jackson guitars. After Grover Jackson acquired Charvel in 1978, the company quickly became a driving force in the emerging high-performance guitar market. In 1980, Jackson introduced the iconic Randy Rhoads model. While not a super Strat, this V-style guitar was the official birth of the Jackson brand. Throughout the 1980s, Jackson expanded its lineup with distinctive models such as the Dinky and Soloist, both designed with fast necks, powerful humbuckers, and Floyd Rose tremolos to meet the demands of hard rock and metal players. By the late 1980s, Jackson had become one of the most recognizable guitar brands of the era, thanks to its innovative designs and endorsement roster that included many of the decade's biggest guitar heroes. Kramer guitars. Kramer guitars became one of the defining brands of the 80s thanks in large part to its association with Eddie Van Halen. Although Van Halen never had an official signature model during his time with Kramer, he worked closely with the company to develop guitars that reflected his personal modifications, including a single bridge humbucker, a Floyd Rose locking tremolo, and fast maple necks. His iconic striped Kramer guitars appeared on stages and in countless music videos, helping establish the Super Strat as the guitar of the decade. Combined with endorsements from other major rock and metal players, Kramer's innovative designs and Eddie's influence made the brand the best-selling guitar manufacturer in the United States for much of the mid to late 80s, with models like the Pacer and the Beretta. Ibanez. Ibanez traces its roots back to the early 1900s when the Japanese company Hoshino Gakki began importing Spanish-made guitars before eventually producing instruments under the Ibanez name. During the 1960s and 70s, the company became well known for building high-quality copies of popular American guitars. After the so-called lawsuit era, Ibanez shifted its focus towards original designs, introducing innovative models such as the Iceman, Musician, Roadstar, and Sabre. By emphasizing quality Japanese craftsmanship, modern features, and forward-thinking designs, Ibanez established itself as one of the world's premier guitar manufacturers. Ibanez's biggest breakthrough came in the mid-80s when Steve Vai became an endorsed artist. Working closely with Ibanez engineers, Vai helped design the revolutionary Gem, introduced in 1987. Featuring a deep cutaway, the famous monkey grip handle, a slim wizard-style neck, a Floyd Rose-style locking tremolo, and versatile HSH pickup configuration, the Gem became one of the most iconic signature guitars ever produced. The following year, Ibanez adapted the Gem's successful design into a more affordable production model known as the RG. Introduced in 1987, the RG being an acronym for Roadstar Guitar, retained many of the Gem's high-performance features, but omitted the monkey grip and elaborate cosmetics, making it accessible to a much wider audience. The RG series quickly became one of the most successful Super Strat designs of all time. Its fast-playing neck, comfortable body contours, powerful pickups, and dependable locking tremolo made it a favorite among rock and metal guitars throughout the late 80s and beyond. Today, the RG remains one of Ibanez's flagship models, while the Gem and Pia Steve Vai signature models serve as a benchmark for modern high-performance electric guitars. Today, there are a host of high-end boutique guitar builders designing guitars that harken back to the dawn of the shred guitar era. For a perfect example of a company nailing it, check out Luxtone Guitars. The shred guitar has changed and evolved over the decades to now incorporate forward-thinking changes like multi-scale length, fan fret models with 7 and 8 strings for greater tonal range, and fretboard radii up to 20 inches. These guitars have taken the high-performance aspects of what a guitar can be to a place few of us that were around in the 80s could have ever imagined. In a way, these new guitars have made the early Super Strats seem kind of obsolete, just like those original Charvel, Jackson, Kramer, and Ibanez models did to the vintage guitars that came before them. In fairness, the Jackson and Ibanez brands have evolved to incorporate many of the cutting-edge modern refinements I mentioned a moment ago into some of their new designs. Even though that's true, models like the Soloist, Dinky, RG, and Gem will always be what most players think of in relation to these brands. Kramer, now owned by Gibson, has seen a resurgence of interest in the Pacer and Striker reissue guitar models from guys my age, nostalgic for the good old days. Same goes for the now Fender-owned Charvel. There's a renewed and growing interest in the reissues of the SoCal and San Dimas models from the same aforementioned old dudes like yours truly. For those who don't want a reissue and plan to hit Reverb to find an actual 80s model, just like the one you had back then, be prepared to drop some serious coin. While these guitars aren't commanding the kind of money a vintage Les Paul, Strat, or Tele are, the prices will definitely have you reconsidering the likely better built and more functional reissue after all. The Super Strat era pushed guitar playing to new and groundbreaking places. Many of these early pioneers, guys like Eddie Van Halen, Warren DeMartini, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, George Lynch, Paul Gilbert, Nuno Bettencourt, and a host of others, are still revered for the music they made nearly 50 years ago. They built on what guys like Hendrix, Clapton, Beck, Blackmore, Gilmour, and many others had done with the original Stratocaster and took it all to the next level. Not unlike modern shred players like Guthrie Govan, Nita Strauss, Tim Henson, Mateus Sasato, Tom Quayle, Matteo Mancuso, Misha Mansour, and a host of others are doing now. While the Super Strat may look a bit different in 2026 than it did in 1986, the spirit remains the same. It's a guitar meant to eliminate as many barriers as possible to what you, the player, can do with it. A design whose sole purpose is high performance, a vehicle for your most technical expression. The guitar is definitely ready, and the rest is up to you. If you've enjoyed this look at the birth of the Super Strat, make sure to share it with a fellow shredder. Please take a minute to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Also, subscribe to the show on YouTube and follow on Instagram. And I'm going back to the old sign-off because it really is true. The best guitar player is the one having the most fun.